This Easter represents a historic first. It's the first time in history the government has tried to forbid Americans from attending church. A pastor in Gainesville, Florida was threatened with arrest if he conducted his usual Easter service. In Kentucky, police collected license plate numbers and issued quarantine notices for worshipers. A pastor in California was fined $1,000 for holding a Palm Sunday service. Churchgoers who attended a drive-in service at a church in Greenville, Mississippi were fined $500 for reportedly violating a curfew order from the mayor. Mayor Bill de Blasio threatened that if church and synagogue goers didn't follow his quarantine, he would order his authorities to
take additional action up to the point of fines and potentially closing the building permanently.
He even tweeted this. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy issued a similar order, which actually led to the arrest of some congregants for gathering in a synagogue together. When Tucker Carlson asked Murphy about his authority to prevent Americans from practicing their religion,
I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this.
We are all worried about the coronavirus pandemic, and of course, safety has to be a priority. Religious leaders need to be responsible and take reasonable precautions to help their congregations worship safely. To this end, we're seeing all sorts of innovations from the church on how to practice communion and how to allow communal worship without putting anyone in unnecessary danger. But these decisions have to be left up to individuals, not dictated by government. Freedom of religion has always been a cornerstone of the American system, and we should be very careful before we agree to give it up. See, religion has always been a special object of government persecution. From the early days of Christianity, when the faithful were thrown to the lions in ancient Rome, to the genocide perpetrated on the Jews during the Holocaust. Today, Christians are being persecuted in parts of the Middle East and North Africa, prompting an exodus of millions over the past 2 decades. Muslims are currently being persecuted in China, India, and Myanmar, with the Chinese government building concentration camps for over 1 million Muslim ethnic minorities. It's a dark history that emphasizes the importance of religious freedom and the horrors that can occur without it. The American founders understood the ugliness of religious persecution, and the American continent wasn't immune. Early Spanish settlers slaughtered Protestants for scattering the odious Lutheran doctrine in these provinces. When the Puritans settled in Massachusetts, they forbid the practice of alternative religions in the colony. So, when the American Constitution was drafted, religious liberty was explicitly protected in the First Amendment to the Bill of Rights. This is a value we have held sacred ever since. Throughout the Civil War, the Great Depression, and the attack on Pearl Harbor, churches and synagogues remained open. We never let even the greatest crisis disrupt our ability to come together in prayer. In 1963, the Supreme Court ruled in Sherbert versus Verner that the government can't force people to violate their religion in order to claim benefits. When America was attacked on September 11, 2001, the courts consistently protected the rights of Muslims to practice their religion. When President Donald Trump attempted to ban travel from predominantly Muslim countries in 2017, federal courts struck down the order as unconstitutional. None of these events were enough to allow us to compromise our most cherished principles until now. In times of fear and trauma, people need the solace of religion more than ever. Preventing people from praying together and practicing their most sacred rituals that have gone uninterrupted for thousands of years is not only cruel, but un-American. The history of the world is the history of people having to fight for their religions. Fights that all too often ended in bloodshed and martyrdom. If there's any place where the faithful should not have to fight anymore, it's here, in the land of the free.